Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another marvelous episode of the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. I am your host, that ocean crossing, straight up bossing, flight catching, shot glass snatching, always positive, life is great, repping 592, living in the 718, no cap, straight facts, the worldwide starboy, Remy Blue. And our special guest tonight is a man who graduated from the Nightmare Factory Class 3. Student Showcase 3 available on YouTube. And not only that, he's one of the biggest members of that class. Like real talk, I would not want to meet this man in a dark alleyway. I wouldn't even want to meet this man on a busy, bright highway. Not at all. But another remarkable,
Alleys
another
are scary, man. I understand it.
Another remarkable thing is that he is also the first ever and only wrestler with Erb's palsy. Everybody, welcome to the show, the Pagan Psycho Sandson. Sandson,
That's a
welcome.
fantastic entrance. Thank you.
I try,
A
man.
couple things right off the bat, though. I'm not the first. I am the only active pro wrestler with Erb's palsy. But on a quick Google search, Brooke Tessmacher, I don't know if you remember her from Impact Wrestling back in the days. Yeah, she actually has Erb's palsy as well. So, and before we get started, I have a little tradition with Camp 3. I actually think I'm the only one to do it on here so far, but this is for Dom. So we're gonna open one of these for Dom, and now we can properly get started.
Okay. What happened? Wait, are we talking about Dom, your tag team your opponent from Student Showcase 3?
Yep. Dom Texera has he and I bonded over our love of seltzers and craft beer. So we did a lot of that during training.
Looks like a great beer, man. Looks like a great
That's just a Trulies, but
yeah, I'm actually a sucker for a Budweiser and some Corona. You know,
I had one of those to get started, but product placement. Hopefully they don't.
Every now and then, I like a good Guinness. You know, Guinness is a big thing in where I'm from in Guyana. It's a big thing in our country. So,
Nice.
So man. So I saw the Student Showcase 3, man. I gotta say, y'all were killing it, man. As always, I have never been disappointed. When they had, and it's funny because you probably know this guy, Diamond Sheik. He was the one that got me into the whole. Let me check out Nightmare Factory because
everybody at the factory knows Sheik. Everybody's taking a ride on his private jet. Everybody, Sheik is probably one of the best human beings you'll ever meet, as long as you stay on his good side.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, he always like. So how I found out about him was through his brother Scooby, who wore the infamous Scooby-Doo outfit at AEW, and I was like, I'm the kind of guy if I see, because we also have another part of our show another segment called 15 Minutes of Fandom where we interview fans. And sometimes when I see a fan sticking out, I'm like, I want to know what that person says. I don't care how outlandish they look. I want to hear their story. And through him, we found out about Diamond Sheik, who at the time wasn't a wrestler. And so I was like, okay, you got two other brothers. Okay, let's get your two other brothers on. We weren't able to get the other one, but we were able to get Diamond Sheik. And then lo and behold, next thing you know, he's telling us, yeah, I'm going to be training at the Nightmare Factory and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Hey, whenever you get it done, man, just hit us up and we'll have you back on. We'll put your picture up with the logo and everything. And he's like, okay. And he sends us a video of him training. And then lo and behold, he sends us, I see the whole picture of Nightmare Factory Class 2.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm gonna have you on, Diamond Sheik, but you know something? It would be wrong if I just had you on and not your classmates. So I want everybody from that show, from that class, on. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is class 2. I missed class 1. So I have to go back to class 1. And now I'm working through class 3. So, but I gotta say, you men and women, y'all are doing fantastic. I'm not just saying that because, you're a big guy in front of me, like real talk. So, and you're probably gonna think I'm lying right now, but when Showcase 2 started, when Showcase 2 came out, that same month they had the WWE pay-per-view. And I was like, I saw the Showcase 2 and I saw the pay-per-view, and I'm like, wait a minute, the Showcase 2 that was the one with the zombies that pulled Miz in to right injured. And I'm like,
I successfully missed that pay-per-view somehow. So
I'm not, I always say that we're not pro AEW, we're not pro WWE, we're pro wrestling.
Right.
Because we watch it all. But sometimes I was like, nah, man, WWE, I love y'all, but y'all, well, why? It's not even Halloween. Why?
Yeah. It's flavors of ice cream, man. One of the things QT taught us is that pro wrestling is just flavors of ice cream, man. There's a little bit of something for somebody. Like if you're not like me and you don't like bland vanilla and chocolate ice cream, and you want to go get Rocky Road or Bear Claw or banana pudding ice cream or whatever, there's something out there for you. You know? So there's I like to say, as far as wrestling goes, I like to chase all of the flavors of ice cream. I want to know a little bit about all of it. So
yeah,
that's all it is, man.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am. Like I watch like recently I haven't been able to because I got my one job and I have another job that I do on the side, so it's been kind of tough. But I try to sneak in a little bit of WBAW, some Impact, a little bit of OVW, which is surprisingly still running. Not a lot of people know about, and several other promotions as well. And the thing about chasing all those flavors that you mentioned is that you get to see certain independent moments that you would never see. Like not many people know that Harlem Heat actually reunited at a reality wrestling show. Jay Lethal recently came out with the Genius, Lanny Poffo, the Macho Man's brother. And the Genius actually read the royal decree where he the same decree that he read to Macho King when he became the Macho King, he did it for Jay Lethal.
That's awesome.
And I'm thinking, like, I would have missed this if I wasn't into indie wrestling. So,
that's pro wrestling, man. That's what it should be. It should be those, everybody gives, the new generation, they give them a lot of crap about breaking the business or, whatever they want to call it, not having, old school mentality or whatever. But as far as like, if it's those little subtleties that like call back to the past that I love, that most people, even those that are against this new school movement, don't understand. Even they're missing out on the little nods most recently to Scott Hall that a lot of people were missing on the independents. It was he had such an influence in wrestling in general that you could go to any independent show for the last 3 or 4 weeks and see just a million different, homages to him. And it's just, that's what wrestling is, man. It's supposed to take a little bit from the past and then look towards the future. So.
Yeah, the one thing and I'm like I said, I'm not gonna touch the whole old school mentality because, like I said, I'm just a fan.
Right.
I know my role. I shut my mouth and I go to shows and I just watch.
There you go.
If there's something that I don't like, I might voice it, but I'll be quiet about it because, like I said, I am not in the business. I'm one of those fans that knows his role. I'm one of those fans that knows his role. Stay my butt behind that guardrail, and I just enjoy the show. And I try not to construct. I mean, most of the times I don't because I just enjoy it. It's my getaway.
Right.
But
well, us as performers, our whole goal is to get the fans talking. So it's that mindset of there's no such thing as bad press. Like, you know what I mean? Like good, bad press is good press kind of thing. So especially, it doesn't matter if you're booing or if you're cheering or if you like the product or if you don't like the product or if you like my beard, you don't like my beard. Like as long as you're talking about it and as long as you're engaged in what's going on, that I've done my job. You know what I mean?
Definitely. So, and I tell you what, yeah, I was actually one guy that was doing a lot of talking was your tag team partner, Coach Young, at that student showcase. He was leading the charge, and you would think that he's the big one, but he's like the smaller one. I'm like, this guy is brave. Like I would never if I see a man of your stature, I'm like, okay, man, just do whatever you want to do. I'm gonna sit my short self over here and just watch. Whenever you need me, hey, just let me know. But I don't want unless
you
you're
only saw you only saw the 10 to 15-minute match between Coach Young and myself, but we roomed together the entire 3 months up there in Norcross, and it was myself, Coach Young, Silver Fox, and Raiden. The four of us roomed together the entire time. So yeah, I know that was a crazy mix up. Like it's a crazy mix of individuals. But yeah, that wasn't, people that like to think themselves smart to the business know the term gimmick. And that wasn't a gimmick for Aaron. That's Coach Young 24/7, 365. He was legitimately an undefeated JV football coach. Like he lived the gimmick in every sense of the word. And after, in 10 minutes of it, you could see I got tired of it, but that was really like 3 months of pent up. 3 months of pent up, just stop talking and let me do what I do, which is, have fun and pound people into the dirt. So.
Oh yeah, man, that was a pretty good match. I thought y'all would have had it, but apparently rum and coke, which is pretty poppy and dominant, like cereal, they were able to pull it out. And yeah, that was a very entertaining. I like how Coach Young took Brooke Havoc's rose, and he was like fed up. Hey, Coach Young, if you're watching this, man, we want to get you on the show, man. Like we got to get you on it, man. Like.
I just talked to him recently. Football season's over, so I guess he's ready to put the boots back on and get back at it. So
yeah, that's great. So let's take a trip in the past, man. Like, how did your fandom for wrestling start? What was the pay-per-view or the main event? Or what was that relative you saw watching and you were like, wow, that's kind of cool? Who was that?
So I'm gonna date myself a little bit. There's pictures floating around somewhere in my house of me at a car dealership when I was like 2 years old. And there's a picture of me with Surfer Sting, the buzz cut, and picture of me with the natural Dustin Rhodes, which kind of 360 into being trained by Cody and everything was kind of, I always wanted to find that picture while I was in training and go show it to Cody. But I was never able to find the actual, I still haven't found that picture. But that was I was 2, so I don't really remember it. I just remember seeing the pictures growing up. But one of my earliest memories of pro wrestling was Bash at the Beach 96, which for those of you that don't know anything about wrestling, that was the night Hulk Hogan turned and the NWO was formed. The big leg drop on the Macho Man and that whole thing. So I've grown up my whole life with Hulk Hogan as a bad guy. Like, so I was always a Sting mark. I was always, when after I got out of wrestling for a little bit and then came back, I discovered CM Punk in Ring of Honor, and it just kind of snowballed back from there. But I think it was probably growing up in the southern United States. My mom and my grandmother and grandfather always used to watch wrestling. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. So every Thursday night in Jacksonville, Florida at the old Coliseum, the old Florida Championship Wrestling, and then later WCW would come every Thursday night. And my grandmother would tell me stories about, like, she saw Ric Flair get a cigar put out on his arm after a match or something. So it's always kind of been there. And then when I was about 10 years old, my mom on my 10th birthday took me to a WCW event, and it was Nitro because my birthday fell on a Monday. And I'll never remember it. I think it was Goldberg's like 115th win in a row, like when he was doing that whole thing. And so it was just like I remember being in the nosebleed seats, and even then just being like, this is what I wanted, this is what I loved. So it kind of, I've taken detours in my life, kind of, bouncing around from sport to sport and everything. But that was kind of, it was my mom who really gave me the insight, which is why the why I wear purple in my gear. It's where the name Sandson, that's where it came from. Her last name was Sands. So in Celtic culture, back way back in the early part of history, your last name was basically son or daughter of your parent. So Sands was her last name, so I'm the son of Sands. So Sandson is kind of where that name came from. So definitely her for sure.
Cool, man. That's definitely cool. And you got the coolest mom ever. Your mom took you to a WCW event. I was like,
right.
wow, shoot. My mom
With
do that
money
for
I'm
me.
sure she didn't have. Yeah.
My mom do that for me. I would definitely make sure. I mean, I already do anyways. I already get us together some Mother's Day, but like, I would definitely make sure every Mother's Day, hey, you know, cool, yeah, coolest mom ever. That's cool. Yeah. So, in terms of, so now that you're cheering, who are some of your favorites that you enjoyed growing up? Besides Sting, I know you said you were a big Sting fan, but who else?
Big Sting fan. I was a very big fan of Goldberg growing up. Even though I didn't like that he played for the University of Georgia, because in our household we were big University of Florida fans, and they're kind of big rivals with each other.
Okay.
Big Goldberg fan. Later on in life, I started to really appreciate the work of Scott Hall, even Kevin Nash, as far as being a big guy. When I got away from wrestling and then kind of rediscovered it through Ring of Honor, like tape trading and things like that, I discovered Samoa Joe and CM Punk, early AJ Styles, all of those, Bryan Danielson, all those early, that early Ring of Honor core group, just kind of really, because it was a lot. I'm a shoot martial artist, so I have a black belt in Shotokan karate. I've studied Muay Thai. I've studied judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, boxing, all of it. I'm enamored with fight and fighting. So when Ring of Honor came out and you had all these guys that suddenly were, like Steve Blackman on steroids, you know what I mean? Because Steve Blackman was a guy back in the WWF days that I looked at like, oh man, this is a martial artist. And not in the cheesy cover him up like a ninja kind of way either. He was a legitimate badass. But yeah, when I started seeing these guys throwing kicks, like Muay Thai kicks, and really kind of laying into each other, it sparked an interest in New Japan too, where you start discovering those guys. And then probably more recently, obviously QT Marshall is a huge influence on me. Cody Rhodes, Glacier was a huge. I don't know how the hell I forgot about Glacier. You want to talk about martial arts gimmicks that just he's the nicest human being you'll ever meet. Ernest the Cat Miller was another one that just kind of took the cake for me. Nowadays that I'm so into the business now, there's a lot of indie guys that I'm now colleagues with that I really admire and I really see as heroic. That performers like Kid Bandit, JDX, Brandon Gore, Trevor Outlaw. I'm wearing his shirt for Christ's sake. Not just the guys I trained with either, but you've got T Gaines is another one that I've seen recently. Lexi Gomez. Just there's a lot of them within the independent scene now, especially here in the U.S. that I don't think get the rub that they need. So.
Yeah. I've heard of T Gaines, very strong woman, very talented. Kid Bandit is on the rise. Like like I said, if I see somebody that stands out, regardless of whether they look cool or they look outlandish, I wanna hear their story. And I saw the class picture for Nightmare Factory for when I saw the class picture for Camp 3, I was like, okay, who we got here? Who we got here? And then I saw the first person that stuck out was Kid Bandit because of the hair. Some people were making
and he's right in the front. Yeah, he's right in the front too.
Some people were making fun of the hair. Some people were saying other things. It was mostly good comments, but I'm like, Once again, I want to know. I want to know what his story is. Let me get to him, and then once I got to talk to him, very very impressive. Very great story that he told us, and I was like, then all of a sudden, lo and behold, the Wrestling Code, which is an up and coming wrestling game, the first ever indie wrestling game. They say that Bandit apparently is going to be in the game, and then he recently made his debut for GCW, and so that guy is on the rise, and that's why we here at Ringside Society we always say, we don't care. One of our mottos is we don't care if you make it WWE or not. We don't care if you make it AEW or not. We don't care if you stay on the Indies. The fact that you go in that ring and you put on a show for us, the fans, you risk your body, you risk your health, you risk your mental. That is enough to say, hey, we want to hear your story. We want to have you on our show. And
there's a running joke with those of us in Camp 3 that anytime like recently I saw JDX at the first Terminus event in Atlanta, and we're looking around, and the venue that they have had, it was set up down below, and then there's a big like 360-degree balcony type deal that you can go up and like watch down below. And JDX and I looked at each other, and we looked up at that, and we're kind of just thinking to ourselves, and almost at the exact same time we said the same sentence: Bandit would jump off this. And that's just kind of been a running joke with Camp 3, is that we'll see something and we'll be like, Bandit will jump off that. Or, he's so, and it's not just the Daredevil stuff either. He's so creative as far as like how his mind works, and how he'll take such a simple maneuver and just add flavor to it. And it's just, he's like a chef in a kitchen. It's just that Bandit is just far and beyond one of the biggest and best success stories from our class so far. So I wish the best for Bandit for sure.
Yeah, I definitely do. I definitely do as well. Definitely a great guy. I know right now he and another one of your classmates, Ishmael Vaughn, they're doing their thing over in the West Coast. Ishmael Vaughn. Oh, that's another.
I
remember
I still get like pains in my rib from training with Ish, because you call me a big guy. Ish is a massive individual. That is a huge human being. So he's definitely, and the contrast with him and Kid too are just it's perfect. It's the perfect tag team, like core tag team. It was great.
Yeah, I remembered I saw that match with Ishmael Vaughn and JDX. And Ishmael Vaughn did a tope suicida, and they took out the whole guardrail. I was like,
yeah. I think it was JDX that actually did. He hit Ish with the tope suicida, and we were all in the back watching it because we were just so close as a class that we liked to watch everyone's matches. There were actually a couple of us that were a little late on our own entrances, because we were in the back watching everybody else's matches. So it was that particular scene. I remember them talking about it, and then I remember him hitting it and just being like, holy, explicit word. Just, it was an insane spot. To this day, it's still talked about in our little group chat. So.
Yeah, y'all definitely got some talented people. There's even a guy named Dreamer. I'm like, Andrew Dreamer. I'm like, okay.
Andrew Dreamer. Yeah. So I'm like,
go ahead. My bad.
Dreamer's a cool dude. He was definitely he was definitely an experience for sure, and I mean that in the greatest way. Like Dreamer is a very fun individual. He always had a positive attitude. So.
One match I want to see, and I know promoters, you're getting a free one from me. I normally pay. Sometimes I shamelessly play armchair booker. Promoters, y'all are getting a.
We all do.
You don't have to cut me a check. You don't have to give me a free ticket. I'll pay for my own ticket. But I want to see a promoter book, and this is before he retires. Tommy Dreamer versus Andrew Dreamer. I would love to see that. Doesn't have to be any big story, but I'm just curious as to how that match would go.
Dreamer versus Dreamer. I like it. Yeah.
I would like to see how that would go. That would be a pretty interesting thing to see.
Oh yeah.
So, but I gotta say, man, like, congrats on actually, getting it done. I know that the Nightmare Factory wasn't it wasn't easy. How'd you end up? Cause you wrestled before the Nightmare Factory, correct?
Right. Yep. So yeah. So I wrestled for 3 years before I started training at the factory.
Right.
And then we just had our 1 year anniversary yesterday. So that's kind of cool.
Congrats on that. Congrats. So in terms of so how'd you end up with that Nightmare Factory? How'd you find out about them and got into the class and everything?
So I'll try and make it as short as possible, but it is a little bit of a long-winded story. When COVID hit, before COVID hit, my girlfriend was in Alaska, and she was working for the Forest Service up there. They canceled her job for the summer because everything got shut down. So she decided to fly back here to Panama City, Florida, to that way she wasn't stuck in Alaska during this whole shutdown. So fast forward to 2021, she's decided, well, I'm stuck here. I'm going to go to paramedic school. So she was in the middle of paramedic school at the time. Shows had just started back up. I had just recovered from shoulder surgery from a torn labrum. And I was kind of like, I should probably go get trained, because when I initially started training, I trained, like when you talk about backyard wrestlers, I was initially trained in somebody's backyard in a 16 by 16 foot ring. Like it was as backyard as you can get. It was as outlaw promotion as you can get. Loved every second of it, but at the same time, I wanted more. So I started looking at, every wrestling school I could find close to the state of Florida. And of course, I knew some guys that had trained down at the Dudley Academy at the time, the 3D Academy at the time. Now I think it's just the Devon Dudley Academy down in Orlando. I had known a couple of people that talked about flatbacks down in Apopka, which is Tyler Breeze and Sean Spears' school. And then I saw on a Google search the One Fall Power Factory, and saw that it was just outside of Atlanta. And I was like, oh, that'd be cool. I'll just go. It's QT Marshall and Glacier. And at the time, I had just discovered who QT was through AEW and all that stuff. So I was like, yeah, I'll go up there. It was not just wrestling training, but you got gym training too. So like you got strength and conditioning with Coach Ian. There was the in-the-ring training, and you had the nutritional part from Carolyn Fazio, which was it was all encompassing. So I'm like, oh, this looks really cool. So I emailed the One Fall Factory. I didn't know that they were in the process of changing over from being the One Fall Factory to the Nightmare Factory. So I didn't realize Cody had just got involved, and they were, I think at the time I talked to them, they were in the middle of the first class. So when I initially when I initially got an email from them, Carolyn emailed me or texted me like 4 days before Camp 2 started, and was like, hey, we had some people drop out. Do you want to come up for Camp 2? And I was still like 2 or 3 weeks from being fully cleared from my shoulder surgery. So I was like, I don't really like, that's a really quick turnaround for me to move 5 hours up north to go train in 4 days. So I asked her, can I be a part of the third camp instead? That was in April. And she was like, yeah, sure. Just, text me 1st of March and we'll get everything situated for that camp. And I'm so glad that I pushed it off to Camp 3, because the people that I met in Camp 3 were just like, I don't think I've met a lot of Camp 2, and I'm sure I would have had a fantastic time in Camp 2, but Camp 3 just so far is, and I'm probably biased on it, but that was my group of people. So
yeah,
that was how I got into the factory.
Yeah, y'all definitely did a lot of great matches. I still can't, and then I still can't get over also Parker Lee hitting, the Canadian Destroyer on raiding the Canadian Destroyer. I'm like,
yeah.
wow.
That was the first time anybody had given Raiden a Canadian Destroyer too, which was hysterical. But yeah, Parker Lee was I don't know if he was I think he was a Camp 1 guy or a Camp 2 guy, but he was always there training and always, so we like to say within our camp that there's like honorary Camp 3 members because we were just such a close group of people. But there were always people from Camps 1 and 2 that kind of just gravitated towards us.
Yeah.
So people like Brooke Havoc, people like TSF, people like Trip Jordy, sorry. Ooh. Those guys always just they were always kind of around us, and they always kind of hung out with us, and would come out and hang out with us. So
those TSF guys,
they're like honorary Camp 3 members.
Those TSF guys, man, they're fun. Oh man, did you see the meme that they put recently? They had of course, Trip Jordy was trained he trained at the Black and the Brave.
Yep.
He
was it the meme with Cody and Seth's face over Eddie Guerrero and the what is it, the custody of Trip Jordy match or something like on a yeah. I saw that. That was hysterical. Yeah.
Yeah, Trip Jordy's another one I definitely look forward to. He's definitely on our radar to have on here. I've never met anybody that's and Trip, please don't kick my butt, but I've never met somebody that's what I call a Black and Brave Nightmare Factory hybrid. You have two of the best that train this young, and man, I would definitely love to have him on the show because Black and Brave is another one that they do great things. I have a lot of great people as well. Yeah. So the Showcase 3, man, how were you nervous about taking part in it, or were you like, something? I got this. I've been wrestling for 2 years before, and I've had communicated from Cody and QT and Glacier and Coach Ian. This is gonna be cake, or was it a mutual? Was it a combination of both?
So I always get nervous before matches. Always. It doesn't matter how long I've been in the business. It doesn't matter if it's a 2-minute squash match or a 60-minute Ironman match. I always get nervous. And it just goes back to my days as a baseball player, football player, any other athlete. Is I've always had this mindset of, if I don't get nervous beforehand, then why am I doing this? You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where I'm always going to get nervous before matches. But my mindset was a little different during that one because it was Dom and I had wrestled before. Dom's been in the business 7 or 8 years now, 6 or 7 years, something like that. And so he and I had experience, but it was Coach Young's first match and it was Poppy's first match. So my whole mindset going into it was very much, and this will probably pull the curtain back a little bit, was more protect those newer guys. So my mind was going on, okay, we want to put on a great show. But also at the same time, I got 2 guys in there that, even though I've been training with them for 3 months and I know they can go, and I know that they're passionate, and I know that they're talented, and I know they're going to get over. At the same time, it's that big brother mentality where I'm just like, I don't want them to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want them to get hurt. I want it to look like I'm hurting them, and I want it to look like they're getting hurt. But at the same time, that protective instinct comes in. But no, I was definitely a little nervous, mostly because that was not the biggest crowd as far as numbers that I've ever been in front of, but it was definitely the biggest as far as experience that I had ever been in front of. Because not only did you have Glacier and QT and Cody in the crowd, but then you also had the guys from Camp 1 and 2, and you also had the guys that had been there since it was the One Fall Factory, like Jamison Ryan from BGU. You had Stunt Marshall, who I had known since before I started working in the crowd. You had, Coach Luke was on commentary. there were so many people that have been doing this for so long that know what they're looking for and know what makes sense and know, what's going to get over, that it's just kind of like, man, that kind of nerve was definitely there. So.
Yeah, but y'all definitely did great as well, and I still got to check out Class 4.
I appreciate it.
I've only seen one match. The
Yeah.
showcase. I've only seen one match, and that was Katie Hebner and Ashley Dambois versus Giselle Lane.
Mm-hmm.
No, not Lane. Giselle. I don't know where I got Lane from. Giselle Azur, I think was her last name, and Reka Tahaka. And I couldn't believe that Katie actually got the submission win on Reka Tahaka. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Katie was a joy to be around when she was with us in Camp 3. It sucks that she got hurt during training a little bit during Camp 3 and wasn't able to finish with us. But she was definitely there as much as she possibly could with that injury. So that's another one that even though Camp 4 wants to claim her, and even but she's definitely an honorary Camp 3 member for sure. And then Reka, congrats to Reka, just recently got signed with WoW. So like she was always there and always a joy to be around too. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Reka's definitely a talented person, and WoW, I hope they're ready because Homegirl is intense.
Yeah,
she definitely brings. So I got a question from a fan here. They said, I don't know if you know, hey, would you fight Dax the Axe again?
Oh, in a heartbeat. Who's Dax? Oh, in a heartbeat. I love Dax. So Dax the Axe is a guy from Tampa down here in Florida, and he was I could be wrong, but I believe he was trained at the Lethal Academy with Jay Lethal and God, I can't remember the other two guys. That their faces are in my head, but I can't remember their names. But yeah, Dax he's been in the business for twice as long, if not longer, than I have. And we had a match. Oof. I think we actually had the last time he and I had a match together was before I started at the Nightmare Factory. So I'd love to get back in the ring with him after, having that training to kind of see where we've gone from there. But yeah, and I know that person. I know that person that sent that too. So yes, Amanda, I would love to wrestle Dax the Axe again. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so I just got a few more questions. So your nickname is the Pagan Psychopath.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
So I am a pagan, which just means that I don't believe in a single secular god. More so, diving into it real quick, I believe in all of the gods, and you should worship whatever gods make more sense to you. But the psychopath thing comes from, one, my love of just learning about psychopathy as a disorder. I've also always had this fascination with serial killers, Jeffrey Dahmer, the Night Stalker, those kind of people. But also dealing with my own mental health issues with depression and anxiety and things like that throughout my life, ADHD. It's a lot easier to just clump that into a mantra of psychopathy. So even though they're not themselves psychopathy, it just kind of it fits. So when I was thinking of monikers and nicknames and this kind of thing, because honestly, it's when you did your intro earlier, it was, to me, I was like, I just got one. Like, I've got the Pagan Psychopath, and you've got a lot of these different ones that you use, and for me, it was hard coming up with the one. So I commend you for that. But yeah, it was just I was messing around with it the one day before I started wrestling, and I was like, oh, the Pagan Psychopath. That works. I want to be this big bad heel that incorporates all these different aspects of mental health. Why not? And it just kind of stuck. So.
Wow, that's cool. That's pretty rare. Pagan Psychopath. Yeah, that's a pretty good one to hear as well. So now that you've gotten Showcase 3 out of the way, and you got another alumni guest of ours, the answer, Josh Breezy, coming up. That's gonna be an interesting one to watch. What are your top 5 opponents that you'd like to wrestle?
Ooh. So, are we talking like? Are we talking? So, I'm a big fan of making lists. With having ADHD, I need to make lists or I forget things. So, are we talking like attainable goals for this year, or are we talking about just the top 5 in general?
I'd say attainable goals. Let's keep it attainable.
Okay, so the top 5 that I did at the beginning of the year, my top 5 were. Let me see if I can get this right. Were Danhausen, which again, when I did this was before he signed with AEW. Was Danhausen, Effie. I definitely think I could put on a banger with Effie. No pun intended. John Davis, who is an older vet from the North Florida area. He was part of a tag team called the Dark City Fight Club back in early Ring of Honor days, mid 2000s Ring of Honor.
I remember that.
Yeah, Kid Bandit is on there as my top 5 because I don't think he and I tagged together in training, but I don't think he and I ever had a one-on-one match in training, which I would really like to do. And then trying to think of who that 5th one would be. You know what? Just because of recent events, I'm going to say Buff Bagwell. I think I would really love to get in the ring with Buff Bagwell. Yeah.
Okay. Care to share what happened, or is it like, nah?
No, he's kind of made a resurgence recently, and he it's definitely all positive, all love that's happened. But he's almost become great friends, like great Twitter friends with Kid Bandit. Okay. So like if you go on Twitter and look at the banter back and forth between Bandit and Buff Bagwell, it'll show you. And I remember, Buff Bagwell from the WCW days. And I remember him just being this cocky heel, and it was one of those things where it was like when I heard his name again, this far gone, I'm like, oh yeah, I would love to wrestle Buff Bagwell. He and I could put on a hell of a match. But yeah, Saturday I got Josh Breezy. That's actually why this table is behind me. I was just kind of, while I was waiting for this, I was just kind of looking at the series of tables that I have and just kind of trying to pick out which one I want to put him through. So it's a very, it's a very meditative process. So I have to take my time and decide which one is good enough to put him through. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely going to be an interesting match. I know you got the whole power game behind you, but Josh Breezy, he likes to take to the air every now and then, so it's going to be pretty interesting. I don't think the fans attending know what they're going to be in for. So
they don't have the slightest idea.
So my last question, before we shut down the show, where can fans find you on social? No, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. So whenever you're getting ready for a match, that's your opponent, or whenever you're in the gym and you're getting ready to knock out some reps, or you're getting ready to do some cardio, what are some songs that get you in that zone? Knock out those reps, that workout, and get you ready for your match.
This is definitely because before wrestling, I was a touring musician, so I love music. Anything that Coheed and Cambria has ever written is definitely on my gym playlist. A lot of Bullet for My Valentine's on there. Shout out to Michael Martinez, who he and I bonded during camp over our love of the same kind of music. He and I still have to get together and go to music festivals because it's something we always talked about and just haven't gotten around to doing yet. Really, my gym playlist is kind of all over the place because you have you can go from something as heavy as Bullet for My Valentine, and then the next song might be like the Jackson 5. You know what I mean? So it's just it all depends on, it's all situational, I guess. So if I'm trying to bust out a heavy squat, then I need something that's heavy. I need something that's gonna, really get me going. So yeah, but definitely those two bands for sure will definitely get the juices going. A Day to Remember is another band, a Florida band that I'll definitely throw on. I Prevail is another band that I'll put on in the gym. But all guys I've used entrance music too as well. So it definitely hard rock and heavy metal for me, mostly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way to it. But whenever I go to the gym, like I'd probably get kicked out of the gym if I were actually like be in charge of the Bluetooth. Because one minute you'll hear, Broken Down by Seven Dust, and then you'll hear, Hollywood Undead. Yeah. Y'all don't judge me out there. I got issues sometimes, but Hollywood. And then you'll hear Cottonmouth Kings. Then you might hear some Carly Rae Jepsen, and then some Donna Summer.
Hey, Call Me Maybe was a banger, man. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. So you might hear that, and then you might hear a wrestling or two, and then they'll be like, "Nah, Remy, you gotta go, man. You're placed on the
place." You've got the shirt on, but the Gorillas of Destiny theme song is definitely their entrance music has been on my playlist since they released it. It's
the one that says
insane. Sorry, it's insane.
The one that says ain't nobody realer than gorillas. That one?
That's the one. Yeah.
That was when I first heard that song, I was like, I gotta get this downloaded onto my phone. And that was the first song I would play. And I was in the Navy, so that was kind of like close to home. So whenever I'd hear it, they're calling out the military alphabet. This is taking me. Yeah. So I just gotta say,
absolutely.
So I just gotta say, Sandson, it was great having you on here.
Thank you, man. It was great to be here.
Congratulations on, graduating. I know it's been a year, but congratulations on graduating with Camp 3, and even having Erb's palsy. I don't mean to mention it. That's why I never talked about it before. Because
I've lived with it my whole life, man. It's part of who I am.
It's a medical condition that I'm not gonna talk. I don't talk about it. And two, I don't want you Will Smith and me like I do on the Grammys.
No, man. So I actually I get that a lot, but I actually love talking about it. Like it's not, so people know what cerebral palsy is, but they don't. A lot of people have never heard of Erb's palsy, and it's something that like 1 in every 1,000 people in the U.S. are born with. So so there's just a quick synopsis of it. In your neck, there's 5 nerves that make up what's called the brachial plexus. And Erb's palsy is a brachial plexus injury. So it's an injury to, I think it's like 2 or more of those nerves. So basically the only thing that it hinders is the big thing's range of motion. So like I can't do this with my right arm, which is where the brachial plexus injury is. And I can't turn that way. So it's just like so it makes things a little difficult that way. And then strength wise, it's a little hard to build. It's harder to build strength in my right arm than it is to build it in my left. So it's not it's just something I've always lived with. I can't straighten the elbow either, which is weird. So you'll see pictures of me where it looks like I'm, showing off my lats when really it's just like I can't straighten the right arm. But no, it's a part of who I am. It's actually, part of what made the character, because my whole life I was told, oh, there's things you're not going to be able to do because of your arm. You're not going to be able to, play baseball or play football. And it turns out I was I was an all conference football and baseball player up through high school. I got, college offers to play both sports, but decided to go play music instead. I wouldn't be able to tour as a musician because of my arm, and I did that. So it's everything. The only thing that's ever hindered me from doing that I wanted to do was join the Army. and it wasn't because I could. It wasn't, and they told me straight up. They told me it wasn't because I couldn't do all of the physical requirements, because I could. When I went to MEPS, I was blowing people out of the water. But it was because I couldn't bring my arm down, and it was because I couldn't rotate my hand out far enough. And that was the only reason. But in hindsight, I started wrestling shortly before that or shortly after that. So it was one of those things where if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have started training. So it was kind of a universe telling me, hey, you didn't need to be in the Army anyway. So
I mean,
yeah, I don't ever mind talking about it at all. Like that's why I put it on my bio. Like, I want people to ask me the question so that I can educate people on what it is.
Well, I was, and of course it's medical, and there's a thing called hip. We would never really whatever happened in that room, that room, it stayed there. We didn't mention anybody. We only talked to the doctors who were attending that patient about it. So that same whenever I meet somebody.
My girlfriend was a corpsman, so I understand it a little bit as far as HIPAA violations and everything go. That's a completely different thing, but I'm always willing to talk about it. And I normally, before podcasts and stuff like this, will let the person know, which I failed to do at this point. Let them know, hey, if you want to ask me questions about it, feel free. I don't have any kind of discourse towards it or anything like that. So,
but I gotta say, kudos to you on, actually overcoming that and graduating into Camp 3. And you even got to wrestle on AEW as well too.
No, not yet.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, I thought.
No, I haven't been on Dark or anything like that yet. But
wow. I know Undeniable Michael Martinez was on there, and several other people from the
people confuse me and Michael Martinez all the time. Like, he's a little taller and a little tanner, but
yeah, there was another guy that wrestled. I must have got the name mixed up. I think it was he wrestled yesterday on AEW Dark, or he wrestled this week. I know for sure, so I must have gotten them mixed up. But I know it's going to happen for you soon, and it's only a matter of time. I even told Hyena Hera from Class 2 the same thing. I'm like, yeah, your tag team partner Karma Dean made it on there, but you're gonna make it next. Watch and see.
Right.
Lo and behold, yesterday she made her debut. I'm like, see, I told you. Proud of her.
That's another one I forgot to mention earlier, but she's a trip. I love Hyena. She was one of those camp. I think she was in Camp 2, but she was always around the factory too when we were training. So she's another one that gets that coveted honorary Camp 3 status for sure.
Yeah. Y'all are just awesome, man. Like I said, I'm always tuning in to seeing, the showcase. I'm gonna check out Showcase 4 real soon. I'm gonna definitely check it out, and I'm pretty sure Showcase 5 is out, so I'm gonna definitely keep checking that as well too.
They just filmed. They just filmed or are going to be filming soon. Camp 6, so that'll probably be out in a month or so. So, awesome. Yeah, definitely. Nobody will ever compare to Camp 3, but that's just me being biased. But they can try. They can try.
We got so much love for y'all. We even had the referees on here. We had Luis Santiago, and then we had don't tell me, Paul Espinal, Paulie on here. We had yeah, man. We respect the referees.
Paul's probably one of the greatest refs I've ever met, and it's probably because I haven't met a whole lot of refs. But no, I love Paul. Yeah, I love Paul. And Luis is great too. I think he was the ref for our match, I believe. Luis was.
Yeah, we respect the refs because, and the reason why we did
Absolutely.
it was we're like, if we would interview Earl Hebner, if we would interview Charles Robinson, Aja Smith, who's now in WWE, Jessica Carr, who's now in WWE, I'm sure you know this other guy, Stephon Smith, who was recently in WWE, then why not a Paul Espinal who's doing it? Why not a Luis Santiago who's doing it? Why not do it now? Why not do it now instead of waiting until they get popular and then hey, can I get an interview with you? No, you gotta talk.
Right.
You gotta talk to my media team, and I'm like, and then only heaven knows how long to get back to it. So to you about that. So now we want to talk to you now. Not when you get famous in Hollywood now. But
that's a smart approach.
Yeah. So with that being said, I mean, I know you're a busy man, Sandson. I just got to say, on behalf of myself and the rest of my team who couldn't be here, Kathy Knight and Rob Bass, thank you very much for being a guest on our show.
Always.
You've been on our radar for a hot minute. Hopefully, we can have you back.
Thank you.
Hopefully, when Rob and Kathy are here, just a heads up, if you come back, Rob's talking about movies and Marvel and DC and all that. So he's the expert on that. But
so that interview might go like 3 hours. So just a heads up on that one.
Hey, we actually had interviews that went 4 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
And before that, we had Paige's mom, Soraya Knight. That was 3 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, it's y'all's time, man. We're not gonna stop you. But I just gotta say thank you once again. And right now, you're probably encouraged somebody, inspired somebody who has Erb's palsy to actually, get in the ring and wrestle as well. So, keep doing your thing.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
Yeah. You never know who's watching, man. I've had people tell me, hey, Ringside Side, you encourage us to start a podcast. I'm like, really? Wow, I didn't know that. I thought we were
cool.
When I first started, I thought we were like just unknown, but I guess people are watching. So, I mean, hey, but yeah. So I just gotta say, man, congratulations and thank you once again. And I hope that you get to wrestle all the people all your dream opponents that you want to wrestle for this year. I hope you get to travel to more places, outside of Georgia. I hope you get to hit up, I mean, you're in Florida, but I hope you get to hit up like you're wrestling in Georgia, but I hope you get to hit up like places like DMV area. Hopefully you get to come over here in New York, maybe go Midwest.
Yeah.
Hopefully go West. And I wish the best for you, man. But
yeah, we're relocating here soon in the next couple weeks to Charleston, South Carolina. So awesome. South Carolina is next on my list, and then that'll get me a little closer to places like Pennsylvania and New York, Boston, all those areas up north. My ultimate goal, like one of my dreams, is to wrestle in Japan. It's not necessary. It doesn't have to be for New Japan. That would be great, and I would never turn that down. But wrestling in Japan has always been a goal for me. It's the martial artist in me. That Shotokan karate. What I got my black belt in is a Japanese martial art. So it's just when my girlfriend was in the Navy, she was stationed in Yokosuka for a year. So yeah. So both of us are just like, let's get to Japan.
I was in Japan for 3 years, but I was in Sasebo, which it's a small base, but like Yokosuka's where you want to be, because Yokosuka, if you're a city boy or a city girl, Yokosuka's where you want to be, because Tokyo is right there, and there's a bajillion to do. So man,
she was an 18-year-old kid that came from a farming area of Panama City. So she was not a big city girl by any stretch of the imagination. So the year that she was there was just like her first experience outside of Panama City, let alone the U.S. So she was very excited about Japan, and she always talks about Japan and all that kind of stuff. So that's a huge goal for me is to get to Japan.
When you get it, I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna speak it into existence. When you get it, take it with a smile. Take it with a smile and go, brother. Because trust me,
absolutely,
you're gonna love it. Like, take it with a smile and just go. Make sure you get your Ribera jacket. You got to get your Ribera jacket.
Okay.
it's a, I guess you could say it's a sort of rite of passage for all professional wrestlers. Hulk Hogan's done it. Has gotten his, and I know several other people that have gotten theirs as well. Even Hammerstone said he got his, but his arms couldn't fit through it, so he just has it like, you know. That's what he said. I'm not making fun of him. That's what he said. So yeah.
No, it was just funny. Yeah.
But yeah, he got his. So yeah, definitely make sure you get your Ribera jacket and all that good stuff, man. And like Japan is definitely a vibe, and I recommend to anybody, regardless of whether they're a wrestler or just a regular person. If somebody asks me where to go, say Japan. Let's go to Japan. It's worth it.
Yeah.
The people are cool for the most part. The food just tastes so healthier. Smaller portions, but the food tastes so much healthier, and even the candy tastes healthier too. So I definitely recommend it, and I hope and hope you get it. You're gonna get it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
But yeah. With that being said, you know, we're about to shut down the show. Before I shut it down, Sandson, where can fans find you on social media when they want to find out your next appearances or when they want to purchase Pagan Psycho merchandise? You know, that y'all got. And where can bookers and promoters find you when they want to book their shows? When they want to book you for their shows?
So you can find me on Twitter at Pagan Psycho. You can find me on Instagram at Sandson the Heathen. You can find I'm on Facebook, but you got to look a little bit more for that. I'm posting on all three of those general sites the same stuff. Promoters, you know, Sandson the Heathen at gmail.com. You can email me about, you know, any kind of booking, or you can just hit me up on Twitter or Instagram. I answer those too. I've always got my phone in my hand for some reason, unless I'm in the ring. And if I could find a way to have my phone in my hand while I wrestled, I probably would. But yeah, they can find me there. As far as merch goes, I've got a couple of tees on prowrestlingtees.com/Sandson. Both tees were designed by Kid Bandit, much like this Trevor Outlaw shirt that I have on my body now that's also available at prowrestlingtees.com. Are you happy, Trevor? I promoted your stuff. But I've also got other shirts and other merchandise that you would have to actually physically come to a show to get. So I've got 2 or 3 other shirt designs, stickers, backpacks, cups, lanyards, keychains, anything my girlfriend can stick my logo on, I've got it. But that stuff you actually have to physically come to a show, and you can purchase them there.
Awesome. So y'all definitely heard. One, follow the man. He's on social media. Promoters, you heard the man gave his information. So definitely book this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's pretty much doing great things, and y'all don't want to miss a thing. And y'all also heard the man has merchandise on Pro Wrestling Tees. So definitely go ahead, you know, cop some merchandise, cop some Pagan Psycho merchandise. You know, if you can't make his shows, that's another way you support indie wrestling is, you know, purchase the merchandise. I do it too. I mean, I haven't bought a WWE shirt or anything in years, but I've definitely bought a lot of Pro Wrestling Tees. And it's not against WWE. It just sort of happened. I mean, time flew by, and I'm like, oh, we've done that in a while. But definitely purchase the merchandise. And look at it this way: when let's say you know when Pagan Psychopath here gets signed, when Sandson gets signed, you know, and everybody's in their little WWE or AEW shirts. Yeah, I got the new Sandson shirt. You'd be like, I got that one, and I got the one before he got signed. Yeah, why? Where'd you get it? You can't get it no more. It was before he was signed. Right. You know, so definitely go ahead and support indie wrestling. If he's in your town, go to the shows, and you know, make sure you purchase merchandise, man. I mean, they don't do this just for the money and fame. They do this for the passion and the love of it, and for also us the fans. So support indie wrestling. But with that being
go to a local show. It doesn't even if I'm not there. If you live in, you know, Spokane, Washington, like go to your local show. If you live in Timbuktu, go to your local wrestling show. That's where it's somebody, I don't remember who it was, but somebody said it's the difference between the movies and Broadway. And that's what independent wrestling is. We are Broadway. We are going to give you everything that we have, whether there's 20 people or whether there's 200 people. So
I think it was Gabe Sapolsky that said that. He had, I remember specifically, it was 2013, and he had one where he compared WWE to Impact. WWE is the movie, is the movie. Impact
yep,
is the TV movie, and the indies are like Broadway. I remember, I'll never forget that. And that was a great way of putting it.
right.
Shout out to Gabe Sapolsky.
Right.
But yeah, that was a great analogy that he actually used for wrestling as a whole, and I'll never forget that. So yes, y'all make sure you go to your local shows. I'll even add on something on top of that because I did it before too. If you work at the airport, I know you guys got those buddy passes. Take a buddy pass down to Florida, or to Boston, or to Chicago. No, I did it before. PWS, Pro Wrestling Syndicate. There was a guy named Kevin Matthews.
I'm, I'm laughing because I work at the airport.
Yeah, I mean, if you got
Like
a buddy pass,
that's my shoot job. I work at the airport.
yeah. I met Kevin Matthews. I used to work for an airline one time, Spirit, and he was like, and
Okay.
I was like, wait, Kevin Matthews? He's like, yo, you know who are you? I'm like, Remy Blue. I'm like, yo, we talk on Facebook. I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, I'm gonna definitely go to your show now that I saw you. And lo and behold, that next weekend, I took a flight from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where I used to live at the time, all the way up to JFK, and then I took the train over to Rahway, New Jersey, where he was wrestling. And yeah, he
Nice.
still talks about that story to this day. It's been
Very
almost 10
cool.
years, still talks about it. So yes, if y'all got buddy passes, use those buddy passes. Not even buddy passes.
Absolutely, man.
If y'all got those benefits, go to indie show. Be adventurous.
Oh
Go to
yeah. Buddy pass, fly standby, do whatever you got to do, man. Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely.
Well, with that being said, it's about time for us to shut this show down. I'd like to thank everybody that tuned
Let's do
in
it.
live. Oh, what am I forgetting? So if you want to follow me on social media, not that I'm that, not that
There
I'm,
you go.
who knows? Maybe you'll hear me say something cool. You can find me on Twitter at @DRemyBlue. I'm also on Facebook under the alias Remy Blue, and I'm also on Instagram at @DRemyBlue. I just started it, so you could follow me on there. Our podcast is on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram at Ringside Society, Twitch at Ringside Society 2019. We're on Spotify. We're also still on Blog Talk Radio, and we are also on YouTube. We also have a Facebook group, and we also have a YouTube channel where you can see a lot of our cool interviews, like this one, like the one with Michael Martinez, Katie Hebner, many other people from Nightmare Factory Camp 3, and also Camp 2 and Camp 1. Camp 4 coming soon as well. We coming for all of y'all. So definitely, make sure you subscribe to us. When you go to Ringside Society, when you go to YouTube, type in Ringside Society. When you see that dark blue and light blue yin yang sound, the blue flames around it, that's when you know it's us. Make sure you subscribe to all of our videos because you don't want to miss a thing like Aerosmith in 1998. But with that being said, I just want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight live. Thank you very much. We know we're not the best, but we try our best to bring some of the best wrestling content to you, the fans, as well. To those of y'all that are gonna listen later on when you get a chance, thank you very much in advance. And those of y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really and truly wish we'd go away. Well, like myself at a Gordon Corral, we ain't going anywhere for a while. So with that being said, we are very well aware that everybody and their grandparents and their parents have a podcast. Oh, not your grandparents' podcast. We're not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. So with that being said, one time for the mind, one time for the people, one time for the wrestling culture, one time for the Nightmare Factory Class 3, and one time for the Pagan Psychopath Sandson with the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. And we will be back tomorrow with another episode of 15 Minutes of Fandom where we actually interview our fellow wrestling fans as well. But until then, I just want y'all to do four favors for us. And that is stay healthy, stay safe, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. We out. Peace.